Elise Goldweber, the Justice Department lawyer tasked with taking Trump's deposition, has stated that during a coffee rest Trump said to her directly, you know, you don't want to live with them either. 36. Trump told Larry King on CNN, the problem with our society is the victim has absolutely no rights and the criminal has unbelievable rights. And, speaking of another case where a woman was raped and thrown out a window, a maybe hate is what we need if we're gonna get something done. 44. In 2002, an imprisoned serial rapist confessed to the jogger's rape, which was confirmed by DNA evidence. 45. And the convictions of the 5 men were vacated. They sued New York City in 2003 for malicious prosecution, racial discrimination, and emotional distress. Lawyers for the 5 defendants said that Trump's advertisement had inflamed public opinion. 43. The city settled the case for $41 million, tilde $53.4 million in 2024, in 2014. In June of that year, Trump called the settlement a disgrace and said that the group's guilt was still likely, as settling doesn't mean innocence. These young men do not exactly have the pasts of angels. 46. 47. In October 2016, when Trump campaigned to be president, he said that Central Park 5 were guilty and that their conviction should never have been vacated. 48. Attracting criticism from the Central Park 5 themselves. 49. And others. Republican Senator John McCain retracted his endorsement of Trump, citing in part outrageous statements about the innocent men in the Central Park 5 case. 50. Yusuf Salaam, one of the 5 defendants, said that he had falsely confessed out of coercion, after having been mistreated by police while in custody. 51. Filmmaker Ken Burns, who directed the documentary The Central Park 5 that helped clear the names of the accused, called Trump's comments at the height of vulgarity and the out-and-out racism at . 9. The quotes and events he referenced relate to Donald Trump's long-standing and controversial involvement in the Central Park 5 case, as well as broader criticisms of his rhetoric on race and criminal justice. Here's a breakdown of the key points and context. The Central Park 5 and Trump's role. In 1989, 5 black and Latino teenagers were wrongfully convicted of raping a jogger in Central Park. At the time, Donald Trump took out full-page newspaper ads calling for the reinstatement of the death penalty in New York. He did not name the boys directly, but the implication was clear. In 2002, another man confessed to the crime, and DNA evidence confirmed his guilt. The convictions of the 5 were vacated. In 2014, New York City settled a lawsuit with the 5 men for $41 million. Despite the exoneration, Trump continued to insist they were guilty, even during his 2016 presidential campaign. His refusal to accept their innocence drew widespread criticism, including from the Central Park 5 themselves. Senator John McCain, who cited it as one reason for retracting his endorsement. Filmmaker Ken Burns, who called Trump's stance out-and-out racism. You also referenced 2 other quotes. Quotes. You know, you don't want to live with them either. Allegedly said by Trump to Justice Department lawyer Elise Goldweber during a break in a deposition. This quote has been cited in discussions of racially charged remarks attributed to Trump. Maybe hate is what we need if we're gonna get something done. Said in a 1989 CNN interview with Larry King, in the context of violent crime. Trump was expressing frustration with what he saw as a justice system that favored criminals over victims. Critics viewed this as inflammatory and dangerous rhetoric. These incidents have been used by critics to argue that Trump has a pattern of racially insensitive or inflammatory remarks, especially in the context of crime and justice. Supporters often argue that he was expressing frustration with crime, not targeting specific groups. In specific groups. The Central Park 5 case, in particular, remains a defining example of how public figures can influence public opinion, and how that influence can have long-term consequences when it intersects with race, justice, and media. Would you like a deeper look at how the Central Park 5 case shaped public discourse or how it's been portrayed in media and documentaries? Edit in a page. I'm going to feed you 10 pages zoomers each. Great, go ahead and send the first page when you're ready, and I'll summarize it for you. Once you've shared all 10, I can also help you combine the summaries into a full overview if you'd like. Edit in a page. First page was above. This page outlines Donald Trump's long-standing and controversial stance on the Central Park 5 case. In 1989, 5 black and Latino teenagers were wrongfully convicted of raping a jogger in Central Park. Trump took out full-page newspaper ads calling for the death penalty, which critics say inflamed public opinion. Even after the real perpetrator confessed in 2002 and DNA evidence confirmed his guilt, Trump continued to insist the 5 were guilty. In 2014, after New York City settled with the exonerated men for $41 million, Trump called the settlement a disgrace and questioned their innocence. During his 2016 presidential campaign, he again claimed they were guilty, drawing criticism from the men themselves, Senator John McCain, and filmmaker Ken Burns, who called Trump's comments out-and-out racism. The page also references a deposition where Trump allegedly made a racially charged remark to a Justice Department lawyer, and a 1989 CNN interview in which he said, maybe hate is what we need, in reference to violent crime, statements that have been widely criticized for their tone and implications. Ready for page 2 when you are. Edit in a page. Can you do in one sentence? Trump continued to claim the Central Park 5 were guilty even after their exoneration, drawing widespread criticism for his inflammatory and racially charged remarks. Edit in a page. 1 paragraph. Thanks, I've summarized page 1 into a paragraph and a sentence already. When you're ready, please send page 2 and I'll continue summarizing each one as you go. Edit in a page. Can you do it in shorter parg? Here's a shorter paragraph version of the summary. Trump repeatedly insisted the Central Park 5 were guilty even after DNA evidence proved their innocence, drawing widespread backlash for his inflammatory remarks, including in 1989 ad calling for the death penalty and later comments during his 2016 campaign that critics labeled racist and harmful. Edit in a page. Include all quotes. Here's a compact paragraph summary of the page you provided, including all the key quotes. Donald Trump continued to assert the guilt of the Central Park Five even after their exoneration, calling the $41 million settlement a disgrace and stating, these young men do not exactly have the pasts of angels. During his 2016 campaign, he said their convictions should never have been vacated, prompting criticism from the men, Senator John McCain, and filmmaker Ken Burns, who called Trump's stance a out-and-out racism. Trump also told Larry King, the problem with our society is the victim has absolutely no rights and the criminal has unbelievable rights. Iran added, a maybe hate is what we need if we're gonna get something done. Justice Department lawyer Elise Goldweber recalled Trump telling her during a break, you know, you don't want to live with them either. Edit in a page. In his 1991 book Trumped, John O'Donnell quoted Trump as allegedly saying, I've got black accountants at Trump Castle and at Trump Plaza. Black guys counting my money. I hate it. The only kind of people I want counting my money are short guys wearing yarmulkes. Those are the only kind of people I want counting my money. Nobody else. Besides that, I've got to tell you something else. I think that the guy's lazy. And it's probably not his fault because laziness is a trait in blacks. Trump told Playboy magazine in an interview published in 1997 that the stuff O'Donnell wrote about me is probably true. 54 in 2000, Trump and his associates were fined $250,000, equivalent to $430,000 in 2024, and publicly apologized for failing to reveal that they had financed advertisements criticizing the proposal of building more Native American casinos in the Catskill Mountains, which alluded to Mohawk Indians doing cocaine and bringing violence, asking, are these the new neighbors we want? The advertisements, claiming to be funded by grassroots, pro-family donors, were actually designed by Roger Stone, while Trump approved and financed the $1 million venture, 55, Air 57. In April 2005, Trump appeared on Howard Stern's radio show, where Trump proposed that the fourth season of the television show The Apprentice would feature an exclusively white team of blondes competing against a team of only African Americans. Stern asked Trump if that would start a racial war, to which Trump replied, it will be handled very beautifully by me. I'm very diplomatic. The proposal was rejected by television executives at NBC. The actual fourth season of The Apprentice concluded with Trump asking the male African American winner of the season, Randall Pinkett, to share the honor with the runner-up, a white woman. Pinkett said this was a racist. 59. Trump has also been accused of using racial slurs during filming of The Apprentice. Former Apprentice contestant and former Trump administration communications director Omarosa Manigault Newman stated that Trump used the N-word and others. Bill Pruitt, co-producer of season 1 of The Apprentice, has also stated that Trump used a racial slur during filming of the show. 60. The U.S. Department of Justice concluded that Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio oversaw the worst pattern of racial profiling in U.S. history. 110. The illegal tactics that he was using included extreme racial profiling and sadistic punishments that involved the torture, humiliation, and degradation of Latino inmates. 111. The DOJ filed suit against him for unlawful discriminatory police conduct. He ignored their orders and was convicted of contempt of court for continuing to racially profile Hispanics. Calling him a great American patriot, Trump pardoned him, even before sentencing took place. 112, 113, 114, House Speaker Paul Ryan, and Arizona Senators John McCain and Jeff Flake were critical of Trump's decision. 115, to 116, to 117, constitutional scholars opposed the pardon as an assault on the federal judiciary, the Constitution, and the rule of law itself. The American Civil Liberties Union, which was involved in the case resulting in Arpaio's conviction, tweeted, by pardoning Joe Arpaio, Donald Trump has sent another disturbing signal to an emboldened white nationalist movement that this White House supports racism and bigotry. According to ACLU Deputy Legal Director Cecilia Wang, the pardon was your presidential endorsement of racism. 118, 119. Here's a concise paragraph summary of the second page you provided, including all key quotes. In his 1991 book Trumped, John O'Donnell quoted Donald Trump as saying, a black guy's counting my money. I hate it. Iran claiming, a laziness is a trait in blacks. A statement Trump later told Playboy in 1997 was probably true. In 2000, Trump secretly funded ads opposing Native American casinos that falsely linked Mohawk Indians to drugs and violence, asking, are these the new neighbors we want? In 2005, he proposed a racially segregated season of The Apprentice, suggesting a team of white blondes compete against African Americans, and later asked black winner Randall Pinkett to share his win with a white runner-up, which Pinkett called a racist. Former Apprentice staff, including Omarosa and producer Bill Pruitt, alleged Trump used racial slurs on set. Trump also pardoned Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio, convicted of contempt for defying court orders to stop racially profiling Latinos, calling him a great American patriot, a move condemned by civil rights groups and constitutional scholars as a presidential endorsement of racism. Edit in a page. Today. In August 2016, Colin Kaepernick, an NFL quarterback, began sitting, later kneeling, during the playing of the U.S. national anthem as a protest of police brutality and racial inequality suffered by black Americans. Then candidate Trump stated, I think it's personally not a good thing. I think it's a terrible thing. And, maybe he should find a country that works better for him. Let him try. It won't happen. 120. In October 2017, Trump publicly praised Dallas Cowboys' owner Jerry Jones after he announced he would bench players who failed to stand during the anthem. 122. Kaepernick filed a collusion case against the NFL, charging that NFL owners, under the influence of Trump, had colluded to agree not to hire Kaepernick as punishment. In a player-owner meeting, several owners expressed reluctance to continue allowing players to protest as they feared Trump. New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft, a public supporter of Trump, stated, the problem we have is, we have a president who will use that as fodder to do his mission that I don't feel is in the best interests of America. It's divisive and it's horrible. 125. Kaepernick lawyer Mark Gerargo stated, they were clearly colluding because they were intimidated by the president. The only reason, and the owners will admit this, that they haven't signed him is because of Trump, and they've colluded because of Trump. 126. Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross admitted he had originally supported the players' protest but changed his position due to Trump, and other owners testified that Trump had contacted them regarding the protests. 126. Trump praised NFL owners when they voted to allow protesters to be penalized or dismissed for their actions, taking the occasion to suggest that players who didn't want to stand for the anthem didn't belong in the country. 127. Several commentators saw this move by the NFL as a decision to stand with Trump and against the black protesters. 128. In June 2018, Trump disinvited the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles from their White House visit after finding that only a minority of players were planning on attending due to their disagreement with Trump's policies. Trump claimed that the players' motivation for not coming was his insistence on standing during the anthem, a claim that was refuted by several Eagles players. 129. As in fact none of the players on that team had knelt during that season. 130. Commentators noted that Trump's redirection of the issue towards the anthem controversy was an attempt to play on social and racial issues in order to fire up his base. 129. And have connected it to his public criticisms of black NBA players, black Uckler, basketball players, and a black anchor on ESPN. 122. LOL, this one is funny ITHKS. It's Marie out of curiosity. A pretty Korean lady after an intelligence briefing on hostages held by a terrorist group in Pakistan. Trump asked an Asian American intelligence analyst, where are you from? After she told him she was from New York, he asked again, and she clarified that she was from Manhattan. He pressed with the question until she finally told him that her parents were Korean. Trump then asked one of his advisors why the pretty Korean lady was not negotiating for him with North Korea. 150. 151. NBC News characterized this exchange as Trump having seemed to suggest her ethnicity should determine her career path. Vox suggested that when Trump refused to accept New York as an answer, he is saying that children of Asian immigrants can never truly be from America. This isn't just simple bigotry, it feels like a rejection of the classic American melting pot ideal altogether. 152. LOL, this reminds me of Jeremy hitting on Gina or Melanie on January 11, 2018, during an Oval Office meeting about immigration reform. Commenting on immigration figures from El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, and African countries, Trump reportedly said, those shitholes send us the people that they don't want to come here. 153. And suggested that the US should instead increase immigration from places like Norway, 154, and Asian countries. 155. The comments received widespread domestic and international condemnation. Winking sad smiley. 156. Or 157. 18. News anchors such as Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon called Trump a racist. 6. Support of Stephen Miller. The Trump administration has included several officials with ties to white nationalism. In November 2019, emails promoting white supremacist views sent by senior White House advisor Stephen Miller were made public. Despite widespread calls for his resignation, including by over 100 members of Congress, Trump continued to support Miller and did not condemn his advocacy of white supremacy. 282. 283. Here's a concise paragraph summary of the third page you provided, including all key quotes. Trump criticized NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick's protest against racial injustice, saying, maybe he should find a country that works better for him. Aaron later praised team owners like Jerry Jones for threatening to bench players who knelt during the anthem. Kaepernick filed a collusion case against the NFL, with owners and his lawyer alleging they were pressured by Trump not to hire him, with Robert Kraft stating Trump's actions were divisive and horrible. Trump also disinvited the Philadelphia Eagles from the White House, falsely claiming it was due to anthem protests, though none of the players had knelt. In another incident, Trump questioned an Asian American intelligence analyst's nationality, asking repeatedly where she was from before referring to her as the pretty Korean lady and suggesting she negotiate with North Korea. In 2018, he reportedly called countries like Haiti and African nations as shitholes, and said the US should admit more immigrants from places like Norway. Trump also continued to support advisor Stephen Miller after emails surfaced showing Miller promoting white supremacist views, prompting widespread condemnation. Edit in a page. In February 2020, Trump awarded Rush Limbaugh the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Limbaugh had made numerous statements widely described as racist in his career as a radio personality. 284, 285, 286. In his book published in September 2020, Michael Cohen, who was Trump's attorney for over 10 years, claimed that Trump made racist comments on numerous occasions. Cohen said that he, as a rule, Trump expressed low opinions of all black folks, from music to culture and politics. Among other disparaging comments, Cohen claims that Trump said, tell me one country run by a black person that isn't a shithole. 337. Good genes. At a September 18, 2020 rally in Bemidji, Minnesota, Trump told a mostly white audience, you have good genes, you know that, right? You have good genes. A lot of it is about the genes, isn't it, don't you believe? The racehorse theory? You think we're so different. You have good genes in Minnesota. 348. Many cited these remarks as eugenic and related them to narcissism during World War II. 349. 350. 351. Stand by me. NPR journalist William Brown spoke with Janae Nelson of the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund and Kathleen Ballou, a historian at the University of Chicago who studies the white power movement in America. Ballou noted that the white power movement took his words to mean a standby for further action. Here is evidenced by the fact that his words had now been incorporated into their logo design. Nelson commented, what we witnessed last night was the President of the United States, with all the country and all the world watching, stand in solidarity with white supremacy. And, unlike his previous comments, this time, he spoke directly to them. He told them to stand back and stand by. 356. Mitch McConnell's wife Elaine Chao, the 26th of January 2023 times the former president has long made racist commentary about Chao, often referring to her as Chow Chow or Mitch McConnell's a China-loving wife, ear. In an October 2023 interview, Trump said undocumented immigrants were poisoning the blood of our country, echoing language often used by white supremacists who fixate on so-called blood purity. Adolf Hitler wrote of the contamination of the blood, or blood poisoning in Mein Kampf. Jonathan Greenblatt of the Anti-Defamation League called Trump's comments a racist, xenophobic and despicable. Trump spokesman Stephen Chung said in a statement, that's a normal phrase that is used in everyday life, in books, television, movies, and in news articles. For anyone to think that is racist or xenophobic is living in an alternate reality consumed with nonsensical outrage. 368. While Trump has made opposition to immigration the center of his campaigns, the administration notably made an exception for Afrikaners, white Africans. 395, 396. Here's a concise paragraph summary of the fourth page you provided, including all key quotes. Trump awarded Rush Limbaugh the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2020 despite Limbaugh's history of racist remarks. That same year, Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen claimed Trump often made racist comments, including, tell me one country run by a black person that isn't a shithole. At a Minnesota rally, Trump praised the crowd's good genes, invoking the racehorse theory, which many linked to eugenics and Nazi ideology. During a presidential debate, Trump told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by, a phrase later adopted by white supremacists. He repeatedly mocked Elaine Chao, calling her a Chow Chow and a China-loving. In 2023, Trump said undocumented immigrants were poisoning the blood of our country, echoing white supremacist rhetoric. Despite widespread condemnation, Trump defended senior advisor Stephen Miller after leaked emails revealed Miller's promotion of white nationalist ideas. Edit in a page. J.W. Hater calling exploitative bankers as Shylocks during a campaign-style speech for America 250 on July 3, 2025. Trump called bankers who exploit their clients as Shylocks. The term as Shylocky is classified by the Anti-Defamation League as an anti-Semitic stereotype. Trump later claimed to be unaware the term was used in an anti-Semitic way, and that the meaning of Shylock is somebody that's a moneylender at high rates. You view it differently. I've never heard that. 398. Or anti-Somali remarks. See also 2025 Washington, D.C. National Guard shooting Trump in a cabinet meeting on December 2, 2025. During a meeting of his cabinet on December 2, 2025, Trump said that Somalia stinks and we don't want them in our country. That Somali American Representative Ilhan Omar and other Somali immigrants are garbage. And that these aren't people that work. These are people who say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. Here and after they contribute nothing. When they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. 399, 400, 401. When questioned about these remarks by reporters the following day, Trump doubled down on his opinions, stating that Somalia is not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other, that Somalian immigrants have destroyed Minnesota, and that Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. 402, 403. In a speech on December 9, 2025 in Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania, Trump mentioned referring to a shithole countries at a 2018 Oval Office meeting, and referred to Somalia as a filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships. 404. Previously, Trump claimed that Somalis were taking over in Minnesota and that Somali gangs were roving the streets looking for prey. He also said that Ilhan Omar was always wrapped in her swaddling hijabi and that Tim Walz was a seriously retarded of 4 welcoming Somali immigrants. 405, 406, 407. On February 24, 2026, he made similar remarks in his 2026 State of the Union address, lambasting at the Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota for committing fraud and stressed that importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here. 408, World Economic Forum. At the 56th World Economic Forum, Trump said, Smiley 409, the situation in Minnesota reminds us that the West cannot mass import foreign cultures, which have failed to ever build a successful society of their own. I mean, we're taking people from Somalia. Somalian, they turned out to be higher IQ than we thought. She's telling us how to run America. Not going to get away with it much longer, let me tell you. The explosion of prosperity, in conclusion, and progress that built the West did not come from our tax codes. It ultimately came from our very special culture. This is the precious inheritance that America and Europe have in common, and we share it. We share it, but we have to keep it strong. We have to become stronger, more successful, and more prosperous than ever. We have to defend that culture and rediscover the spirit that lifted the West from the depths of the Dark Ages to the pinnacle of human achievement. Posting video depicting the Obamas as apes in February 2026, Trump received criticism for posting a racist video depicting Barack and Michelle Obama as apes dancing in a jungle. The White House defended the videos and described the reaction as a fake outrage. 411, 412. The video elicited bipartisan condemnation, and Trump took it down several hours later. 413, 412. Trump refused to apologize for posting the video, insisting I didn't make a mistake. 414. The Trump administration later blamed a staffer for the post. A week later, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stated that all posts on Truth Social were straight from the horse's mouth, directly contradicting claims made earlier that a staffer had erroneously made the post. 415. In 2016, U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch said that FBI statistics for 2015 showed a 67% increase in hate crimes against Muslim Americans. Hate crimes against Jews, African Americans, and LGBT individuals increased as well. Lynch reported a 6% overall increase, though she said the number could be higher because many incidents go unreported. In New York City, the number of hate crimes increased 31.5% in the year from 2015 to 2016. Mayor Bill de Blasio commented, "A lot of us are very concerned that a lot of divisive speech was used during the campaign by the president-elect, and we do not yet know what the impact of that will be on our country." 419. In 2019, the Brookings Institution reported that statistics show that Trump's racist rhetoric has resulted in an increase in violence in America. Their study found a substantial evidence that Trump has encouraged racism and benefited politically from it. Looking at hate crime figures in which Trump had won the election, they found a jump of hate crimes, the second largest jump in 25 years, the first being September 11, 2001, 426. Here's a concise paragraph summary of the 5th page he provided, including all key quotes. In 2025 to 2026, Trump made a series of inflammatory remarks widely condemned as racist and anti-Semitic. He referred to exploitative bankers as a Shylocks, a term flagged by the Anti-Defamation League, and claimed ignorance of its anti-Semitic meaning. In a cabinet meeting, he called Somali immigrants a garbage and said, they contribute nothing, later doubling down by calling Somalia not even a nation and the worst country on earth. At a rally, he described Somalia as a filthy, dirty, disgusting, and accused Somali immigrants of ransacking Minnesota. At the World Economic Forum, he praised a good genes and claimed Western prosperity stemmed from our very special culture, implying cultural superiority. In 2026, he posted a video depicting the Obamas as apes, later refusing to apologize. Trump also repeatedly mocked Elaine Chao with racial slurs and said undocumented immigrants were poisoning the blood of our country, echoing white supremacist rhetoric. Studies and officials, including the Brookings Institution and former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, linked Trump's rhetoric to a rise in hate crimes and racial violence. Edit in a page. A survey of over 10,000 teachers conducted by the Southern Poverty Law Center's Teaching Tolerance Project after the 2016 presidential election showed that the results of the election are having a profoundly negative impact on schools and students. Most respondents believe the impact will be long-lasting. Respondents reported an increase in verbal harassment, the use of slurs and derogatory language, and disturbing incidents involving swastikas, Nazi salutes, and Confederate flags. Nearly a third of the incidents were motivated by anti-immigrant sentiment, and anti-black incidents were the second most common, with frequent references to lynching. Anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim attacks were common as well. The SPLC believes that the dynamics and incidents these educators reported are nothing short of a crisis and should be treated as such. 427, 428, 418. SPLC President Richard Cohen commented, "We've seen Donald Trump behave like a 12-year-old, and now we're seeing 12-year-olds behave like Donald Trump." 428, 429. Sociologist Margaret Hageman studies and writes about young people's views on racism and current events in America. In her latest work, published in 2018, she reports on her conversations with young people as related to the election of Trump as president. She writes, "Every child of color I interviewed not only articulated disgust and outrage with the president's racist language and actions, but also described feeling scared, angry, anxious, upset, and worried because of Trump's presidency and specifically what his racist actions might mean for themselves or the people they love." The irony, though perceived as anti-immigrant, Trump is himself the son of an immigrant mother and has twice married wives who were immigrants. He has often celebrated his immigrant heritage, 443, during the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Trump defended himself against accusations that his immigration policies were racist, stating, "I will never apologize for pledging to enforce and uphold every single law of the United States, and to make my immigration priority defending and protecting American citizens above every other single consideration." On February 2, 2026, Judge Anna C. Reyes stayed a TPS termination order in Leslie Myatt versus Donald J. Trump. In her opinion, she wrote, "President Trump has made, freely, at times even boastfully, several derogatory statements about Haitians and other non-white foreigners. He has described immigrants as not people, snakes, and garbage, who have bad genes. Reyes also noted, to its credit, the government does not defend President Trump's derogatory statements. No one rationally could. 492. Most pple find Trump racist. A Quinnipiac poll conducted in January 2018 after Trump's Oval Office comments about immigration showed that 58% of American voters found the comments to be racist, while 59% said that he does not respect people of color as much as he respects white people. 496, or 497. Here is a concise paragraph-length summary of the page you provided, keeping all the key points while avoiding unnecessary detail. A large post-election survey by the Southern Poverty Law Center found that Trump's 2016 campaign and victory coincided with spikes in school harassment, slurs, and hate symbols, with teachers reporting crises of anti-immigrant, anti-black, anti-Semitic, and anti-Muslim incidents. Sociologist Margaret Hageman documented that children of color expressed fear and distress over Trump's racist language. Although Trump often celebrated his own immigrant heritage, he defended his immigration policies as non-racist, saying he prioritized protecting American citizens. In 2026, Judge Anna C. Reyes cited Trump's repeated derogatory statements about Haitians and other non-white immigrants, calling them not people, or snakes, or garbage, or having a bad genes, in a ruling blocking a TPS termination. Public opinion reflected these concerns. A 2018 Quinnipiac poll found that 58% of voters viewed Trump's immigration comments as racist and 59% believed he respected people of color less than white. People. Edit in a page. Smart.